Taking in viewer questions is risky, because there's always a chance I get the really, really weird one. That said, it's been a while. I do a Q&A video almost every year, and wanted to take it down a bit and listen to the people. Some of these are personal questions, variety questions, some are Dead by Daylight related. Yes, I will tell you about how it's all gone downhill, and how the devs just don't care anymore! And also some questions about side projects I've been doing online. Without further ado, let's get into it. Do you actually wear the beanie every day, or is it just part of your branding and identity now? I do wear it all the time. Most of my friends can attest to that. I haven't worn it recently because of the heat, but I'll normally soldier on no matter what. I just usually like the way it makes my hair jump out. Have you ever thought of changing your style of content before? Stuff like adding fancier visuals or more bits and skits to a video, or something as simple as a sound effect, kinda like Funke or Bricky. Yeah, actually. I want to get a lot more creative and mix in more live action bits, more animated bits, more comics, probably in moderation. I'm pretty sure every YouTuber lives in fear of becoming the channel awesome stereotype. I need it to feel natural for me to do it. Another thing is that I'm tempted to add more music to my videos. I've always been a little anxious about it because I'm afraid that the music would mess with the jokes, but I also feel like adding music is something I'm missing out on. What is your favorite idiom/proverb? I don't know if it's an idiom per se, but there was a Tumblr post I saw a while back that said, "Never trust someone who doesn't acknowledge their capacity for evil." And I live by that. Anyone who believes they're a perfect moral being should not be trusted, because that means they're just really, really good at lying to themselves. Will you ever make content on Silent Hill? Maybe. Who's to say? It might be in progress, right?
Orson! Astrid! Orson, no!
Do you think Dead by Daylight is better as it is now, or were the older versions better/more fun? Also, do you prefer licensed or original chapters? I think it's basically impossible to say if DVD is more fun now. I remember having more fun in previous patches, but I also remember a lot of things wrong. I think I miss the attitude I had towards the game. I also miss a lot of the sense of discovery that I used to have for a lot of its mechanics. To your second question, I prefer the content of original chapters, but I like the vibe of a licensed chapter. The community comes together for like one big frat party. It's nice. What were some inspirations when you were writing your manga? Also, did you have character inspirations when it came to character design? Alright, you got me. I already wanted to answer this. If you don't have a clue what this is referencing, I wrote a manga and you can read it for free. Some people are in the know. The story was inspired by a lot of death row documentaries, specifically this pretty popular one by Trevor McDonald. I also took some inspiration from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, of course, with its non-battle battles where characters fight in tons of ways that aren't with their fists, like racing or gambling. So I thought two men eating buffalo wings would be great. With Sato, I wanted a character that looked intense and could convey his personality with his face. I know this might seem strange, but his look was inspired by Keitaro Miura from Aegis Rim 13 Sentinels. I liked his steady posture and soft-spokenness. Meanwhile, Bruce was based on Okuyasu from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, with a mix of the ugly bastard stereotype. I also wanted him to be much bigger than Sato to make him seem powerful and intimidating. It took a long while to make, by the way. It's changed my perspective on critiquing other stuff because now I know what it takes to actually get a story told. Who would win in a fight, pirates or cowboys? As much as I want the cowboys to win, I think the pirates are more versatile. What color is your toothbrush? Black. You have permanently lost the right to call another person a weirdo, by the way. Would you ever make a video on The Last of Us Part 2? I'm a huge fan of the one that you made on the first game. I'd love to. There's a very contentious sphere around that game. To me, The Last of Us 2 is an amazing exploration on what it really feels like to lose someone and how ugly grief can be. I'd want to wait for the right time to focus on that. Most likely the next time it's relevant. Maybe when season 2 of the TV show comes out. What's a game that you think is overrated or overhyped maybe? Could be new or old. Horizon Zero Dawn for sure. I don't know how overrated it is, because I don't know how much people actually hype it up, but I could not stand this game. I thought the combat was clunky, I never got the sense that Aloy was ever threatened by any of her enemies, all of the side objectives were very Ubisoft coded. No good, not a fan. If YouTube didn't take off, what would you have done instead? I would have tried to write more, probably in some creative field. That said, I think the internet has like a monopoly on creativity. Screenwriting and publishing fiction is notoriously hard to break into, so a great way to start in any of that is to make an online presence and work with other people in fandoms, meaning I'd end up on the internet one way or another. Though if I could just be a fiction writer without an internet following, I would take that any day. Shit, I don't know what to ask. Well, I don't know, I put you on the screen, so you better think fast. What is your goal with starting voice acting? I wanted a second discipline to offer. I've been voicing my own videos for a while, so I have the mic confidence, which I think is a lot of the battle for most people. Even though I have a cold right now, if you can't tell. I have a lot of work to improve on before I do it professionally though. I need to control plosions and act in more dramatic roles that really stretch my capacity to cringe. If you could go back in time and choose a different game to focus content creation on, like you did with DBD, what would it be? Also, any big voice acting plans? Well, we just answered that last part, but actually, I would still pick Dead by Daylight. From what I can tell, all fandoms are just as terrible to each other, with some differences, but none enough where I feel any envy for them. If I were forced to pick something else, it'd probably be Overwatch, though I'm not the biggest fan of the creative direction it's taken with Overwatch 2. Plus, they release characters at a much slower rate, so it'd be harder to make funny videos consistently. Who do you think is the most well-made killer gameplay-wise in Dead by Daylight for both sides? Probably the Unknown. I really think Behavior did that killer very well. If you had unlimited resources, what would your dream video be? Well, I'm working on one of them, but otherwise, I'd really want to make a bunch of hour-long videos with tons of standout moments in them, special comics or live bits, though at the moment, I want to focus on making more videos because I just want to build up experience. Anything could happen really, I'm not committed to that. I've just learned that if you build up to giant projects in your head, you'll end up stressing yourself out. When the time comes where I can make a dream video though, I'll do it. Thoughts on the God of War franchise? I loved the OG trilogy, and the 2 modern ones were elite. I'd love your take on them. Okay, this is gonna be kinda controversial, but God of War Ragnarok was disappointing. I played a few of the PS2 games and thought they were passable, good fun, but nothing left an impact on me. The 4th game blew my mind. I was super into the combat, the story, the characters. Then Ragnarok came out and it just felt like it was up its own butt. Part of me wants to make a video dissecting why I feel that way, but I think it'd take too much time that I could spend on other stuff. Maybe it's worth a replay to see if I still dislike it though. What are your thoughts on being negative? The Jerk's Guide series is obviously covered in a lot of snark and mean humor, but what do you think about being negative about something? Weird question, I know, but I wanted to know what the jerk truly thinks about being a jerk. I'm figuring that out more and more every day. The more I make stuff, the more I want to give credit where it's due. A lot of people want to dunk on games for the sake of it, and I'd like to think I've never truly dove into that part of YouTube. Hence why I don't just want to set God of War Ragnarok on fire. On the same hand though, being snarky is funny, and I enjoy it. Let people be haters. Can you do a backflip? No, but I can do a dropkick. Shout out to Coach Rich for teaching me that. Chocolate or vanilla? Chocolate, absolutely. Mint chocolate chip and forbidden chocolate are my favorite ice cream. Full stop. Have you ever considered doing or being a guest on a podcast? You seem like you have a great personality for it. I absolutely would, but I've become very specific on who or what I'll work with. If someone wants me on their podcast though, and I check them out and I like them, I would absolutely go on. As for starting my own, I would want a very, very strong group of people to do it. People I could reliably banter with that also have the same improv skills that you'd need for a podcast. I am a big fan of podcasts though. My favorite one is Trash Taste. What other game mode could fix Dead by Daylight? Alright, this is like a contentious one because I have no way of testing this, and it is entirely based out of spite for Overwatch 2. But I think Dead by Daylight should experiment with being a 5v1. Since you only have 4 survivors in a match of Dead by Daylight, every single one has to pull their weight, and I think having a 5th player to relieve some of that would alleviate some anxieties and stresses that come from playing it, and to compensate, you could probably add tons of killer buffs that they've been asking for a while. I don't know if this would work, but it's something I would certainly want to see tried. That's why I'll just say I want to see a 5v1 game mode, not a pure Dead by Daylight experience. Can I have your beanie? I don't know, this is the one I buy, so. Thoughts on college? Not a big fan, honestly. At least for creative pursuits. I think a lot of the tools are available online anyway. Though I would also say that I think a lot of teenagers should go to college and get the experience of being on their own. The amount you grow by being in a dorm room and not being around your parents is not to be understated. How did you come to love media as much as you do? Your passion for the subjects you discuss and how personal you are with them makes them so engaging and special to me. I'd also like to know what you think would allow someone to appreciate media as a whole in their life. Honestly, a lot of it comes from maybe a desire to push back on what feels like a sort of like death spiral of criticism that I see online. While criticism helps make products better, some people get so deep into the mindset that something should be criticized that they never try to actually dissect the work they're looking at. If you want to learn to appreciate it more, something I would say is try to look at the stuff that you would normally overlook, like the camera angle, or the object placement in a game, or the low-key sound effects like wind rustling. Try to look at it as more than just writing and game design. What are your top 5 stands from JoJo, Beanie Boy? Just for calling me Beanie Boy, I'm gonna say it's Hamon, 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 but number 1 is gonna be Josuke's. Would you ever consider making videos about gimmick builds that you think are fun in DBD? No, I think that niche is pretty widely filled by basically everybody on this site. Look at this greedy guy over here asking 3 questions. Do you plan on making more manga in the future? Are you planning on making different videos or experimenting with different styles? What would a game need to actually challenge Dead by Daylight's monopoly on horror PvP/PvE? Well, it doesn't have a monopoly on PvE. When it does, we are truly lost. Fuck it, I'll answer these backwards. To challenge Dead by Daylight, I think you would need to do it on accident. I think you need to just focus on making your own thing and just hope lightning strikes you. To be honest. Am I planning on making more different videos? You're watching one, buddy. And do I plan on making more manga in the future? I sure hope I do, because I paid for this. Top killer survivor that you want to see, but definitely won't happen. It was Silent Hill, and they did it. And now I don't know what to do anymore. Like, there are things I think would be neat, and I'm sure behavior will surprise me, but I don't know. They've pulled all of the really great names out of the hat. I don't really have a lot that I wish for in terms of licenses. Maybe another Resident Evil chapter, specifically focusing on 7 and 8, because I kind of like those casts of characters. Believe in ghosts? No, but I really wish I was superstitious. I'm pretty sure when we die, it's like turning off a light switch, and we don't even know what's happened. I'm very disappointed by the conclusion I've come to, and I beg for a miracle that changes my mind. For nothing else other than that it would be a lot more interesting that way. How do you deal with some of the stress you get from YouTube, life, as well as stressful games you play like DBD, Deceiver, League? Days seem so much harder now with all the negativity across so many groups, genres, and platforms. I'm in a somewhat unique position as a content creator where I don't actually have to play Dead by Daylight all that much to get what I want from it. I sort of went through like trial by fire and experienced all of the hate that the game could give me, and now I just know my limits on it. If I have a bad game, I turn it off. Stress from work is a different question. Being a content creator, there is no escape from stress. You're always thinking about more videos that you can do. Whenever you're on a break, you're always like, I shouldn't be on a break right now. I'm a monster. Thankfully, I've got some good hobbies like kickboxing, and I recently just started trying jujitsu for the first time. That fucking hurt, by the way. What's the story behind your name? Okay, this answer is gonna be so disappointing. I just thought that it needed to sound natural, and I just kept smashing sounds together until I got one. Hey Rowby, what is a non-gaming related thing that you might like to make a Jerks Guide to? Ooh, that's a fun one. I've always wanted to try making the Jerks Guide to YouTube, the Jerks Guide to Twitter, and other websites like that. Though for an April Fool's Day, I could definitely see myself making the Jerks Guide to cooking or something. Why did you start playing Dead by Daylight? Because a friend told me that a cool new game we could play was coming out, and we all drove to GameStop together to grab it, and they played it for maybe half a year. I don't think they liked it very much. Would you say DBD is your favorite game, or you just like making content on it? Definitely not my favorite game, but I do appreciate that I can basically always kill time with it. My favorite game is probably some story-based game like Omori, The Last of Us, some hipster shit. My top 5 games swaps like every now and then. Should Dead by Daylight be free to play? I've never really thought about that. There's definitely a lot of content that you have to buy, so the $40 price tag is probably pretty steep by now. Then again, I'm not sure my take on this matters a whole lot because I have had like everything in Dead by Daylight for like the past 2 years. I feel like this is a question for newer players, and they're the ones who should be listened to on this. How do you cope with the fact that Hero's real name is Henry? Listen, if that was the biggest problem I had in my life, I wouldn't be here. If you could wave a magic wand and change something about DBD to make it more enjoyable for people, what would you change? Outside of the 5v1 thing, for a serious answer, I think it's high time that they reworked basically every survivor item. You could keep the identity of a lot like flashlights, toolboxes, but there's potential here to add so much more to the survivor end of gameplay that hasn't been taken advantage of yet. And for a funny answer, I think if you DC, you should have to wait until the match you were in has ended before you could re-queue. What made you want to start doing YouTube videos? Was it just something for fun at one stage, or did you always want to get into content creation? Unfortunately, that version of me is dead now, but I think it was for fun, mostly. I think I was just bored and wanted to do something. I kind of accidented my way into figuring out how. It was definitely not something I ever really expected to get views on. If you could go back and tell yourself something during the beginning of video making, what would you give yourself as advice? I would tell myself that holding Windows, Shift, and S at the same time will let me take a screenshot of anything with the exact dimensions I want. In truth, I would just tell myself to relax more. I would always get really worked up over videos, be like, I've got to get it done. Oh, this is the most important video in the world. And no video is worth stressing that much over. What does your scripting process look like? I've been needing some guidance for a while now. Honestly, I basically just type the bits I want and connect them later. I also like to have the game open while I write, just in case I need a quick reminder of something. I have it open during the video making process too, in case I need a really fast example of something. I also like to make sure I break it into sections. And a lot of my scripts have loose ends that I will just stop typing because the inspiration to start talking about something else comes up, and I move over and start talking about that. It is definitely not a linear process of like starting at the intro and going to the end. I hop around all the damn time. My advice for writing videos is to just not get intimidated. It's not going to be amazing, but also people have a really low bar around here, all right? But getting paralyzed is a trap that a lot of people fall into, and if you can make it over that hurdle, you'll start to grow really, really quickly in terms of skill. Okay, last question. Why do you call your videos The Jerk's Guide? Is it an in-joke between you and friends, or was it just a creative idea, or do some people think you're an actual jerk? So, I think I'm a jerk, or at least I used to. When I started making videos, I didn't like my recording style. I thought I sounded really apathetic and uninterested in what I was talking about, because that was sort of how I got past my mic anxiety. So I thought I sounded like an apathetic jerk. So I originally made some videos, X explains by an apathetic jerk, and they didn't do very well. So when I finally took off, I just didn't want to quit on the name. And I accidentally lucked into a decent name. And I'm very fond of it now because it means my videos are framed around me and they kind of get to stick out a little, you know? And I think that's it for now. No more knowledge for you people. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this sort of unscripted kind of content. I'm not going to get into the swing of doing it all the time. Also, while I have a second of your fleeting attention, some of you probably didn't see it when it came out, but you can read my manga literally for free. It's about two guys that hate each other and fight by eating buffalo wings. Also, I've been thinking about doing a video where I eat Carolina Reaper wings. Don't quote me on that, though. Though I am experimenting with the idea of making a second channel for a lot of this. Next couple videos will be highly scripted, whether it's a jerk's guide or something else. All right, thank you so much for watching, and have a good rest of your day.